Welcome to the Elk Talk Podcast with Randy Newberg and Corey Jacobson. Presented by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
The goal is, what little you and I know about elk hunting, we share with people.
I've got an elk building. It's like 120 yards away. What do I do? First off, the thought would never cross my mind when an elk's being 120 yards away to call anybody on a cell phone.
All elk?
All the time? Only elk?
Only elk.
Well, it's us having conversations, so we usually go down some rabbit holes, but
If you hunt with Corey Jacobson, you will find the landscape is full of rabbit holes. We're just going to make this up as we go.
and you look at it like, oh, that's a target-rich environment. But if you're trying to single one out, a solo target there is much easier to go into than a big group.
We record everything, so there's no BSing, no lying, no faking it with us.
Did we hit the record
I
button?
thought I forgot to hit the record button. If you want to know something about elk hunting, this probably isn't the podcast to listen to. Should we give them a list of all the other podcasts where they might learn something?
Corey Jacobson, how you doing?
I'm great.
You
are you?
are always great. Are you ever not great?
You know, fake it till you make it. If it's not working, just say you're great, and then
Huh.
you'll speak it into reality.
Yeah. No, I'm doing fantastic. I'm off the road. My wife didn't even tell me to go stay in a hotel while she eases into me being back in her presence and being underfoot.
And you went to Vegas with her recently, I think, didn't you? That was the
Yep.
plan.
Yeah, I did. Went down there and did the whole shake hands, kiss babies thing for Army F at Hunter and Outdoor Christmas. Came back. I didn't even have the Shanghai chicken flu or whatever you get when you go to
Man,
Vegas.
you
I
are
know.
knock on wood, because show season's coming up, and
I know.
you know what that brings.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I've just been exposed to every parasite that kind of creeps the bathrooms and hallways of Vegas. But I'm sure when I go to SHOT Show in a few weeks, that'll all change. I'll come
Yep.
back. I'll have COVID 26 or whatever they'll call it. But, I don't know. But no, it's always fun to go there. And just it's really a laid back show. Anyone who's interested in going to an event, they always have it in December, the same week of the National Finals Rodeo. Uh, it's just it's so laid back and a lot of really fun people, and season's just wrapping up, so
Yeah.
everybody's got their phone. Hey, I want to show you this. I want to show you that, and I get so much entertainment out of listening to people's stories
Yeah.
and how their season went, and the amount of feedback I get at those events as to this podcast is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's amazing, because we sit here and talk to each other. We don't
Yeah.
have an audience that we're talking to right now. Obviously, we have listeners that listen after we
Right.
record it, but we don't really get feedback other than comments that come through on the website or questions that we can discuss. But then you
Yep.
go to a show, like you were at, or Hunt Expo or something like that, and it is amazing how many people come up and say, "Love the podcast."
yeah,
Still,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, what are we
I'm,
on, year 3 now or something?
Come on, Corey, get with the times. We started in 2018,
I know.
so
I
we're
just
about ready to go to season 8.
8. Yeah,
Can you believe that?
I can't. It seems
That
like,
pe-
it's still just as exciting as it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I still listen to our intro. The number of people who think our introduction of you saying that someone's calling you on the cell phone and
We
they're
should
like,
probably update that.
yeah. But a lot of people ask, do people really call like that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure why Corey's giving out his cell phone to people to call him when he's out elk hunting, but I
Yeah.
don't.
I learned after that experience. Yeah. Did you
Oh,
you were going to go to a Jamie Johnson concert with your wife in Vegas? Did you go to that?
I did. I if there's anyone with Jamie Johnson's group listening, take this as constructive criticism. Uh, and if there's anyone listening who was also there, it was the biggest letdown of any concert I've ever been to.
What?
Yeah, because he's such an amazing vocalist. And when you hear him sing a lot of his songs, it's him and a steel guitar or him and his own guitar. Well, he shows up, he's got 11 dudes in the band. And when you got 11 folks there, you got to let them all jazz out and rock out. And like, man, if ZZ Top has some good music, but I didn't come here to, feel like I'm at a ZZ Top concert. And it
So
was
what you're saying
disappointing.
is you're getting old and it was too loud for you.
It was too loud. Fortunately, my wife always brings earplugs to every concert, so we sat there with the earplugs in, and I'm just gonna say it because a lot of people were there and heard it. He one of the first things he talks about before he even starts singing is smoking dope in Frank Sinatra's dressing room. And anyone who knows me, you start talking about smoking dope, and I just tune you out, man. I've never done it, never will, and I don't understand it. But I didn't really care for someone to walk out and talk about getting high. I came here to listen to music, and so I should have known right then this was going to be a different experience than
Going
what my
downhill.
expectations were. So.
Yeah.
And I know I'm kind of spoiled in some respects because my wife she loves country music as much as I do. So in Vegas a couple of years ago, we went to a very small venue and Dwight Yoakam was there. And if ever the opportunity arose, I know I would be single if my wife could run off with Dwight Yoakam. I get that. So, but he was such an amazing entertainer. Just the history of every song he'd written and who he got it from, and talking about the history of country music going back to all the Okies heading out to California and the Grapes of Wrath, that movie and everything. And I don't know, maybe that sets an expectation that will never be exceeded. So
No.
I don't know.
No, and it
Sorry,
is.
I don't
No,
mean
how
to
was
diss on Jamie Johnson, but
how
listen
did he
to him on
sound
the.
live?
Oh, his voice is just unbelievable. It's like, why are you letting all these jokers in the band sit there and blow their trumpet and play the bass and bang on the drums? You should just send them home. You should have just stood up there with your guitar and sang because his voice, he is such an amazing vocalist.
Yeah.
So I
That's
don't know.
cool.
Call me old.
No,
I'm just
you want to go and
so
be entertained for what you're expecting, and sometimes
yeah.
you're let down.
Yeah, it was funny. There were so many because it was rodeo week. Pretty much everyone there except me is wearing a cowboy hat. Uh, and when he said that about smoking dope in Frank Sinatra's dressing room, all the cowboys looked at each other like, "What the heck?" uh, yeah. So anyhow,
Yeah.
don't mean to get
No.
on a bummer about that because there's so many good things going on in life. I don't want to drag that down and
No,
people
I
say,
just know
"Oh,
you're excited to go. You said your
I
wife was
was.
excited, and
I bought the best tickets they had in that little venue." And yeah. Oh well.
yeah.
It's all good. Last time I was in Vegas, I went to watch the Vikings play the Oakland Raiders.
Ooh.
Paid for premium tickets for that.
Well, you at least
It
expect to
was
be let down when you go to a Vikings game.
yeah, it was 3-0 was the final score.
Oh, that's a long
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. My wife, she'd never been to a professional football game. She's like, I am never going to another NFL game as long as I live. She loves hockey, and I agree. Live hockey is the best sport to watch live of any sport out there. Uh, and so I think she thought it would be as just this continual level of action that a hockey game is, and it wasn't.
It's not.
The Vikings kicked the field goal on their first drive, and it hit the upright, and all you heard was doink, and they didn't make it. So it was 0-0 until the last drive of the game. The Vikings kicked the field goal to win.
Wow.
It was I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of jinxed when I try to go to some event during the NFR. So
It
yeah,
seems like it was a long time ago, but I think it was at the NFR. No, it might have been at the elk calling contest one year when it was. I think it was in Vegas though. But they brought in Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn.
mm,
It was after Brooks
yeah,
and Dunn had broken up, and just
yeah,
had him. And same thing, just there might have been 100 of us there at the concert, and so we were
yeah,
right at his feet on the stage there, and phenomenal, phenomenal
yeah.
concert.
Cool.
And he had a small band, I think there were four or five guys there, and his vocals were definitely the highlight.
Yeah. Well, last time I was at an event, you might have been there when they had Zach Top there. I mean,
No, I would have loved
no.
that though.
Oh man, this was just before he went into orbit,
Yep.
right? Being popular, and he was so good. Oh man. And so
Yeah.
back, I had to introduce him, and I I knew who he was, and his manager's like, now here's the introduction. Well, Zach and I get to talking about where he's from, Sunnyside, Washington, and my wife's uncle was a dairy farmer in Sunnyside, Washington. Like if you live in Sunnyside, Washington, and you've been there for 40 years, you know everybody.
Yeah.
Well, his dad knew my wife's uncle and was friends with him, and so we kind of hit it off, and he loves the outdoors, and so that deal he did, he loves helping RMEF and other causes. So yeah, you couldn't have asked for anything better than Zach Top to be there with
Yeah.
300 people maybe.
Yep.
So there's always chances that maybe you flip the coin and it comes up how you want it, but. So anyhow, that had nothing to do with elk
Nothing to
hunting,
do,
really.
but welcome back
Uh,
from Vegas.
yeah, but if you get a chance and you're ever going to the rodeo, go over to the. So anyone who's been to the rodeo knows what I'm talking about. There's a thing called Cowboy Christmas, where all of the Western clothing and Western lifestyle people, if you have a business in Western lifestyle, you have a booth at Cowboy Christmas, and it's the whole bottom floor of the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is acres and acres. You walk in, there's like a mosh pit at a punk rock concert, man. You can't hurt. You get there's like claustrophobic. It's so crowded in there. Well, the Elk Foundation has their thing going on the second floor, and there's escalators coming up from Cowboy Christmas up to Hunter and Outdoor Christmas. And you kind of see, not always, but a lot of times one person wants to go and do a bunch of shopping for hats and clothes and boots or whatever else, and the other person just comes upstairs and hangs out with all the hunting stuff. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. But if you get a chance and you're down there for the rodeo, it's free. Just go into Hunter and Outdoor Christmas, and you'll see a lot of people with the kind of interest that you probably have. So
Yep.
there's a plug for RMEF.
That's right.
And my job while I'm there is to see how many RMEF members I can sign up. And I just warn you all, when you show up there at that booth and I'm there, you're going to get asked a couple questions. Did you fill your elk tag this year? Well, no. Okay, let me help you here. This $35 membership will start you down the path to filling more elk tags. And they look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and if you bought an RMEF hat and a little bit of merch, I bet you'd shoot a big elk, not just an elk, a big elk. So I know that's all advertising under false pretenses, but for the cause of a nonprofit, I'm shameless. And for those
And
of
you don't
you
even have to use dilly bars there, huh?
no, no,
Wow.
yeah. And so for those of you who got talked into a membership or an upgrade of your membership, I'm not sorry. But anyhow, season's kind of done. We've got all kinds of cool emails from people who had great success this year.
I did.
I didn't, but
You didn't have great success?
no,
What was the reason?
ineptitude.
Was it from a lack of trying?
Yeah, do as we say, not as we do, right? No, I was traveling so much. The only days I hunted elk in Montana, I didn't even carry a rifle. I was helping another person. Uh, and then I had a bunch of deer tags that took me out of state, so I ended up deer hunting more than I did elk hunting. And yeah,
Man,
it's one of those years. So I'm gonna make up for it next year, though. You ever run out of elk meat, Corey?
I don't think I have. I mean, we've
I'm
gotten down to the bottom, but I don't think I've ever looked in the freezer and it's been bare.
I'm going to this year. I can tell right now. Looking in my freezer, I got a little bit of Matthews elk left from Arizona from 2024, and I shot a whitetail doe and I shot a whitetail buck. That's all I shot this year. Wow, that whitetail doe, my wife and I'll plow through that like,
Yeah.
you'd swear someone stole it. It'll be gone so fast, a little thing like that. So, yeah, I'm gonna be fresh out of everything. I'll be eating Kraft macaroni and cheese and beans and weenies by May.
Well, if I luck into a wolf again this winter, I'll send you some wolf meat because I know you
Okay. Yeah.
you like that,
Yeah.
and
If I shoot a wolf,
you couldn't pay me enough to even
no.
try a bite of it.
So if I shoot a wolf and we have a great big barbecue with it, my buddy Corey from Peaks, well, you know Corey
Yeah,
Pearsall from Peaks. Did you know that his whole family are a bunch of chefs?
I didn't know that, but I knew he was a chef, a good one.
Yeah. So he told me the next wolf I shoot, we're gonna do the whole wolf rather than just the hindquarters. And we're going to invite everybody in who wants in on it to come over for some of his barbacoa. It's it is
I don't
fantastic.
I don't think I could do it, Randy.
You could.
I've
No,
smelled
you
them,
could.
even with the hide off, just smelling the meat. It just,
No.
I don't think I could do it.
Well, then I'll eat your share.
Okay,
Heck with you.
I will sign
I
it
mean,
over to you happily.
my theory on this is if people realize that they're edible, there'd even be more people hunting them, and we'd have better wolf management.
I think if people smelled them for the first time after they shot one, they might consider no more hunting. They
Ah,
stink like nothing. And it's funny because when I shot the first one, whatever it's been 8 years ago or so, when I walked up to it and smelled it, I thought immediately I've smelled that smell in the wild before. Like it's a
yeah.
very, and now it's no doubt, it's like an elk. When you smell an elk, it's like I smell elk. There's elk close by. I can't
Right.
tell you how many times I've smelled wolves and now recognize it.
Yeah, if you want to know what a wolf smells like, just go stumble across about a 2 week old elk carcass.
That's been sprayed by a skunk and then rolled on
Yeah,
by a wet dog.
right.
Yep,
That's what they smell like.
it's bad.
But, have you ever smelled a cow before or a pig?
Yeah. But
There's nothing.
when you take the hide off of them, the meat smells sweet. Like that's the difference. Like elk meat, when I smell elk meat, it's like, oh, that fresh
Mhm.
raw
No,
elk
I
meat
get.
is
Yeah.
smells
Oh
good.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
a rutting bull elk, I wouldn't put my nose right up to his leg and sniff it and think it smelled good.
No, but when you take the hide off a wolf, it doesn't smell that bad.
Whew,
It
maybe I've
doesn't
got
smell.
some bad wolves, but I can't
Uh-huh.
get that smell out of my nose.
All right. Well, someday I'll surprise you. I'll lie to you. Now you'll never trust anything I feed
Uh,
you.
I mean, that's for me, it's more of a mental thing, just knowing what they
Yeah.
smell like, knowing they're a dog. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you snuck something in and I tasted it, I'd be like, doesn't taste like anything. Is this wolf? And
Well, when Lewis and Clark, got out to the Pacific coast at Astoria, Oregon, all they had to eat was elk and they got tired of it. And they were really excited on their way back when they got to the interior basin of Washington, what is now Washington, and they got to do a bunch of trading with the local tribes and they preferred dog. No, go read their journals.
oh,
They were all
I
excited to eat
know.
dog.
They had a lot of questionable decisions in that joint, though.
Yeah.
That probably
Uh,
wasn't the least of them.
yeah. So anyhow, you want to know why I'm gonna make up for a season that I didn't shoot an elk?
I do.
Because Wyoming's deadline is February 2nd. They open up their application January 1st. And I downloaded the proclamation. And now it used to be this thick thing that had unit season dates, type 1, type 3, type 9, type 6. Now it just says refer to the hunt planner out at the Wyoming Game and Fish website and pay attention in case something changes.
That simplifies things.
Oh, yeah. So uh, I'll get my application in by the February 2nd, but I'll keep an eye on things and I'll change it 10 or 12 times before the deadline when you can no longer change it. I think sometime in May they close it where you can't change it anymore. Uh, but somehow I'm going to go to Wyoming this year, I hope.
Didn't you just go
But,
this season?
yeah.
So you're going to go again, back to back.
Well, I hope so. I drew a random tag last year. First time I've ever drawn a random tag for elk in Wyoming.
That's right.
Have you ever drawn the random tag?
I've not. I always
Oh,
have to use all my points and
yeah.
get them in
No,
the point pool.
it's been 20 years they've been using that system now.
Yeah.
And yeah, last year I finally drew a random tag.
Nice.
So, yeah. But people are doing the math saying, well, Newberg, you had a random limited entry tag and you said you didn't shoot an elk.
Yeah.
So,
What's the story there?
oh, how much time we got?
Well, hold on. Before we get there, you said they said refer to the website, the hunt planner on the Wyoming website
Yeah.
for any changes. And it sounds like there's already been a change because you said February 2nd was the deadline, and it's always been
Right.
January 31st.
Yeah. When it gets to where they used to have all the hunt codes and stuff, that's where the page says refer to the hunt planner for hunt codes and types and season dates.
Gotcha.
But they
But
change that stuff. So when
yeah,
the commission meets in whenever it'll be late April, early May, they'll change some of those things.
yeah.
So don't be sleeping at the switch.
Well, and the problem is you can't modify your application at that point. Like the deadline is
Right.
before they meet. So all of your changes that happen between when you apply in March or whenever the deadline for changes isn't really going to be based on science or on any changes yet because they make those changes in April or May.
Yeah. But one of the things they did last year, the year before, they extended that change date to be like a day or two after the commission
Oh, really?
meetings. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I never told people that. Now you just let the cat out. Now,
I didn't even know it.
what I know, one of my little tidbits, I always watched the Wyoming Game and Fish. The last 2 years, I've watched the Game and Fish Commission's meeting because they've come up with some changes to season dates and season types that if you weren't watching the meeting, you probably weren't going to know.
Yeah.
And the reason I watched is because they had changed it to where, okay, the date to alter your application or amend it or whatever you want to call it, they moved that to just after that commission meeting. So being the nerdy accountant I am who reads fine print, I so
You read the
yeah,
fine print? Yeah.
I read the
Good for
fine
you.
print. Yeah.
That's
So
great.
anyhow,
Well, we also drew Wyoming this past season, and so I don't have my hopes up. But I've not also drawn a random tag there yet either. So maybe this year's
yeah,
my year.
yeah. No, don't give me. I have no idea why I have all this confidence that I'm going to draw a random tag 2 years in a row. I'm an optimist. That's all I can say. So
Yep.
the odds of me being in Wyoming again next year are close to zero, I'm sure. But oh well.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. So do you really want to get into this story?
I don't know.
Uh,
Is it going to be on Fresh Tracks or?
It is, but it's such a complicated story. I'm struggling with how to tell it. So
Yeah.
maybe me telling it here will help clear my mind of how I tell it. So go down there in archery season. I have this big plan. Marcus and I are going to go down there. And then I get a call from some folks in DC that said, hey, you got to be at this congressional hearing on whatever date in September. I'm like, who has a who holds a congressional hearing in September? That's archery elk season.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we know, but we need you there on September 5th, or I can't remember what the date was. I'm like, I'm going to be in Wyoming elk hunting. So juggle my calendar. And at the last minute, they call me and say, false alarm. They decided to use a different witness for that hearing. You shoot things and eat them. And it sounds like they want somebody who rides a bicycle or walks their dog or whatever on public land. So we don't need you. I'm like, you mean I packed my suit and my everything for this hearing that I was going to go to and altered my calendar? So anyhow, Marcus and I head down there and find quite a few elk on day 3 or 4 it was. So I have a week of archery hunting, then I'm going to come back for a few days, and then I'm, Wyoming, in a lot of the units, you can come back in the rifle season if you don't fill your elk tag in archery season. So we go down there, and I don't know how other people's thoughts or experiences were in Wyoming last year, but on like September 8th or 9th, it was, they were just ripping. Man, they were bugling hard. I I don't know what the deal was, but anyhow, on the third or fourth day of my hunt, we'd seen this really, really nice bull, and he's running off every other bull. They go and bed up on this bench in the aspen, so Marcus and I climb up the ridge to get above them. And Marcus is cow calling, seeing if we can get this guy to respond, and I'm out in front, the classic setup. He'd bugle once in a while from his bed, but he never really decided to come in. So we got really close. We did the Corey Jacobson thing. How close can we get without spooking them? And so Marcus, there's like this little depression. The elk's up on one bench, Marcus is on the other, and I'm trying to ease down this little slope, drops maybe 50 feet elevation, and I'm gonna get up on that same bench as the bull. Well, now Marcus starts cow calling from about 70, 80 yards away and bugling. This guy stands up and he just starts tearing the trees apart. I mean, the bigger the tree, the more energy he put into it. So, but it's so thick. I just, he's not coming close enough where there's any shot angle. So I wave Marcus, hey, come down this little slope, come over my shoulder, and we're going to get up on the bench. Same elevation as him. We're going to get slightly up. There's a slight slope to that wind, so the thermal, you could tell which way to go to use the thermal. And I peek through all this brush. I mean, it is so thick, you feel like you're in willows. There's these chokecherry bushes,
Yep.
and if you've ever been in those, you're not shooting through those. They're just that thick. I see him over there. There's an aspen tree that's probably got a 10-inch caliper, and he is just working that thing over. He's not bending it over at all, but he's just. And I hit my rangefinder, and he's 23 or 24 yards away,
Holy
but
cow.
I don't have a shot. So I tell Marcus, let's loop around to the left of this big batch of chokecherry bushes, and and he's got his eyes closed raking on that tree. I'm just going to step forward, and at 20 yards, he's going to be dead. And this is a big bull. This would be my biggest bull ever. So I'm like, just so you know how the excitement is.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to happen. This, you can hear him over there breathing and just, just how they are when they're that wound up. And so we sneak around these bushes, and I got the arrow on the string, and I look at Marcus. I'm like, you ready? And I stand up and step forward, and it's going to be a 20-yard shot. And he's working over this tree. I'm thinking he's got his eyes closed. He's not going to see me. His eyes must have been open because he saw Marcus and I rise up on this little berm above him. And he looked, and before I could get settled and draw, he starts walking off. I'm like, oh man. So I cow call, thinking, no, he's never going to stop. Well, he's so wound up, he hears that cow call, he stops and he turns back and he's quartering away from me, looking at me. And I'd ranged that also. I knew that was 30 yards. And I'm like, "This is like a layup. He's going to stand there and let me do this? All right." So I release the arrow, watch it disappear, and windage left to right looks perfect, aiming for the off shoulder. And I it flinches, and I saw the fletching go in, and I'm like, wow, great. He's he's not going very far. Uh, and he starts walking down to where his cows are. He's not even like on a dead run. He's kind of going just faster than a walk, but not on a run. And Marcus feels terrible because uh, the first time in his 10 years of working for us, our new FX3 cameras have a programmable button in the front. And one of the other camera guys had programmed that to be a pause button, and Marcus didn't know it. So he raised the camera up over his head with the viewfinder down so he could watch the viewfinder because he wanted to get the over the shoulder shot. Well,
Yeah.
while he did that, he hit the pause button, and it pauses for 5 seconds when you do that. Uh, and I turn, and Marcus is back there just, he doesn't cuss much, but he's cussing now. I'm like, what the heck? What's the problem? Well, when we replayed the footage, you have me coming to full draw and just leaning down because the bull is slightly below me. And then the clip picks up 5 seconds later with me looking at the camera saying, "Oh, that looked good." So we don't have any. It's the only
Couldn't even
time ever
watch to see where the arrow hit for sure.
no,
Man.
no. So uh we didn't see where, when the bull went around the corner, we didn't see where he went. uh so I told Marcus, I'm like, if anything, it could possibly be a little low, but I'm gonna let him just go lay down and die. And so we sat there for, I don't know, an hour or so. And then I thought, well, I'm going to just follow the blood trail to where he disappeared because I just want to find my arrow and follow blood trail. Can't find the arrow. We are walking around everywhere. We can't find the arrow. I don't know where it went to. And then we walk up this little trail that goes around the corner, and there's blood right away. Cool. Uh, okay, let's just sit here and wait. Let's watch. If he crosses this big sage flat, we'd see him, but he went down in this, around the corner in this draw where his cows were bedded. He's dead down there. So we sit there for about another hour, and we haven't heard anything. And his cows are up feeding now. We can see his cows feeding down, you know, 70, 80 yards from us. I'm like, well, let's just get on the trail. And we start going and going, and blood, 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 blood. Not, when you hit a bull perfectly, there's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
There's just, maybe all the blood spots we're seeing are about the size of a coffee cup or something. Like, dang, I don't know about this. So when we didn't have a bed or a bull within about 300 or 400 yards, we kind of paused again for a little while, thinking, now, where would he go? What would he do? I'm trying to think this through. Well, now I hit him at about noon, and now it's like, I don't know, 3 o'clock, and we start following the blood trail, and he's going up some hills where when he go up a hill, lots of blood. When he go downhill, hardly any blood at all. So I'm like, I don't know what I did. I mean, the shot felt perfect, uh, but we followed his trail, uh, and it started getting dark, and he headed into some thick stuff. So we stopped, went back to camp. Thought, well, we'll pick it up in the morning. Well, when we tried to pick it up in the morning, we couldn't find any blood. It's like, where did he go? So we're gridding. All of a sudden, Marcus is like, I got blood down here. So cool. Big relief. And now he's in the thickest, reproduction aspen that are about 15 feet tall that you can't even
Yeah.
walk through. That's where he went into. And there's this huge basin of that stuff. So we follow that blood and we find where he bedded. And there's bed with a bunch of blood in it. And when he'd walk through those aspens, there's only blood on one side, on the side where the arrow went in. And I still haven't found my arrow at this time. There's no exit wound. There's no blood coming on that side. So we we just had to start gritting because once he got up out of his bed, we lost any blood. And so now it's been, you know, 20 hours, 18 hours since I hit him. And we never found another spot of blood after he got up out of his bed. So we spent the next 3 days gritting every little place, every likely spot. We split up. And you know how that is. You grid, you go 10 yards and you look at your map on your phone and it looks like you're a kid with an etch a sketch.
No.
Your tracks are just so compact and so tight. And so we thought, well, maybe he made it over to that other parcel. So we went to all this other BLM stuff and gridded and gridded and gridded. So between he and I, we spent 6 days split up, 3 days each. And in those days, we each had over 20 miles on our track, gridding, looking and looking and looking. And then I had to go to another uh, thing, had to go to a legislator and county commissioners gathering to talk about conservation easements. So that disrupted the gig. But I said, all right, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do this one early season deer hunt, and then I'm coming back. So I came back. And when people see the footage, they're going to be like, this is crazy. Marcus calls in a really nice 6 point. I thought it was him. The next day, I glass him, and he just stepped out on the edge of the aspens. I'm like, that might be him. Call Marcus. I'm going to move up here. Marcus does like 3 cow calls, and this thing just comes running. But I can tell the thirds are shorter. It's a long beam. It's a really nice 6 point, but the thirds are too short. It's not him. So he stands there at 45 to 50 yards. Like, would somebody shoot me? That's what I'm here for. I want to be on video. And when I know that I already hit an animal, I'm not gonna shoot at another one because I'm confident this guy's dead. I'm 100% confident he's dead. So that happens while we're doing all this gridding. I come home, I do all my things, I go back down there, and I have 2 days in between trips. So I go back to gridding, just gridding, 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 and going to all the places I hadn't been to. Get up on this knob, put up my spotting scope, and I'm glassing this big basin of aspens where he was at, and I see a golden eagle up in the tree. I'm like, what's a golden eagle doing there? That's a weird spot. So I dial up my spotting scope, and now I see magpies all over, and I see a coyote chasing off magpies back behind where this golden eagle is. I'm like, that's only like 300 yards from where I hit that bull. Man, I can't get my stuff packed up quick enough. I am buzzing up the mountain. And I get about 50 yards away, and I'm like, oh man, I know the smell of a dead elk. There he is. So I walk up there, and I have to get up this little bench onto this flat, and I look, and there's a dead elk, bull elk laying there. I'm like, wait a second. Mine didn't have a broken beam. What? Found someone else's elk. And
Wow.
the
300 yards from where you shot yours.
Yeah,
Wow.
the arrow's still in it. I shoot full metal jackets. This was not a full metal jacket. I shoot a fixed blade, and this was a mechanical. I mean, I pulled the arrow out of the carcass. It's pretty well consumed at this time. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Man.
How could this happen? So I spend those 2 days. I think I put on another 12 miles gridding. So now I got to go do some other trips, and I'm convinced this bull is dead. So in October, when rifle season opens, I go back down there, and I'm thinking if I see him walking around with a wound, I'll know him because I have so much footage and pictures of him. I'm going to shoot him. Well, I'm like getting run over by elk They must know that I'm not going to shoot them because I've
Yeah.
never had that many bulls come by me or snuck up on that many bulls in my lifetime. Not him.
During
Not
rifle
him.
season now.
During rifle season.
Wow.
And a couple of them are bigger than the one that I hit with the bow. So I spent, yeah, people are going to see that part like Newberg. You've given it between you and Marcus each doing 3 days. That's 6. You did 2 more. That's 8 days. He's not dead or you would have found him. Why aren't you shooting those things? Well, I'm still convinced he's dead somewhere
Yeah.
there. So I keep gritting, keep gritting for those 4 days. Put on another 20 some miles, pass a lot of bulls, never find him. Go
Hmm.
back, retrace everything, think maybe I can find my arrow now that the leaves are off the trees or whatever. No, thought, well, the guy, maybe someone's looking for that other elk. I'm going to go see if that elk, someone came and picked it up. Walk over to that waypoint. No, that bull's still laying there. Now it's completely scavenged. This was a very informational for me. I thought it took a long time for an elk carcass to look bleached out. So I'm back there now 3 weeks later, and from when I found that other person's bull, and there is not a piece of meat left on the bones, and they already look kind of bleached.
Yeah.
And the head is still there. The arrow, I leaned the arrow back up. The birds or something knocked the arrow down. I leaned it back up against the tree in case the guy's ever looking for it. So I uh, I ended up not finding him.
Man.
Yeah. So I looked between those 4 days, the 2 days before that, and then the 3 days Marcus and I each spent. I invested 12 man days gritting. My map looks like I said, an etch a sketch.
Yeah.
Uh, I did 9 of those days of the 12, and I have over 60 miles of tracks on my uh, maps gritting,
Man.
and never found him. I'm
There's just,
convinced he's dead, but
yeah.
so
Well, kudos
I ended
to
up
you
not.
for punching your tag on that effectively, and because you could have. I mean,
Yeah,
you could say, "Hey, there's a chance. We can't find him. He must be alive," and justify it
yeah,
and go and shoot another one. And I'm kind of the same. If I hit one in the shoulder or something, and he goes down the hill and keeps bugling, and I see him the next day, he's fine. I make a decision at that point whether to keep hunting or not. And typically
yeah,
I'm okay too. But if I get an arrow in a
yeah,
body cavity and I'm 90 to 95% certain you get an arrow in a body cavity, that elk's going to die. That's
yep,
what my tag's for. My tag's good for one elk, and whether I find him or not, that's my one elk.
yeah. And I understand that a lot of people aren't in my situation where I get to hunt a lot, and they might say, "Look, I am not going to spend my whole season
Yeah,
looking for that elk." But I was just that confident because, like you said, if you get an arrow in the body cavity, I, I have replayed that a million times in my head, if not more. And like I said, windage left to right, it's a perfect quartering shot, about 45-degree angle. And I was trying to go in just behind, where you thought you would catch the close lung, and hopefully the back of the close lung and the front of the offside lung. And the only thing I can figure is possibly I hit a little lower than I expected, and combine that with the downhill angle. Maybe I went just under the back of that lung and hit the leg bone on the offside, and that's why nothing ever came out.
yeah,
There's no exit wound, no arrow. But I'm with you. If that bull's walking around with a sharp broadhead in its body cavity, he's gonna die. And I've seen enough of these situations where I know that if it's not immediately lethal, they're gonna go bed down somewhere and they're gonna get septic, and somehow they're probably gonna die within 2 or 3 days.
yeah. Especially on a
That
quartering away shot where you're typically going to penetrate behind the diaphragm. and then the arrow is going to pierce the diaphragm and get up into the vitals. They just
Yeah.
don't live with it. When the diaphragm's pierced, they can't, like you said, they go septic and they get that infection up in their vitals. But
Yeah.
I've seen them live for 30 hours. And in
Yeah.
that 30 hours, if they get bumped or if something happens,
Yeah.
even if it's not you that bumps them, a coyote comes along and bumps them up or something,
Yeah. A
they
bear.
can go. And like you said, you don't have blood. And that's quartering away shots are, they're good. They teach you about it in hunter's safety. The quartering away
Right.
shot's a good shot, but there's a couple things there. First, it's hard to get both lungs on a quartering away shot. If it's like you said, 45 degrees or more, you're threading the needle there trying to get both lungs. And an elk that's shot
Yep.
through one lung can go a long ways. The other
Yep.
thing is I mean, I like an arrow staying in the body cavity. It does more damage, but you hit
Mhm.
that offside shoulder and that broadhead's now encased in the shoulder and it's not doing more damage necessarily there.
Right.
And that gives you one hole, and the hole is typically farther back, like in the
Yep.
gut chamber, and there's a lot of fat right there. And so it plugs that hole really quickly, and you don't usually get a good blood trail. So they're going to
Yep.
die, but it typically
Yep.
takes them a while to die, and it typically doesn't leave you a good blood trail, which can be a pretty challenging combination of things to be able to track and find that elk.
Yeah. Especially, where he went into the trees. It is so thick.
Yeah,
So when I was back there in rifle season, all the leaves were off the trees. This is late October. And still, even with the leaves off the trees, it is so thick.
yeah,
And but I'm with you. I think I hit the liver. Uh, it, it was on his right side where the liver would be. Um, and when he'd walk downhill, he'd hardly bleed at all, which tells me he's bleeding internally, and that cavity has to fill up with blood before anything comes out.
yeah.
Well, then when he switches and he starts walking uphill, now all that blood is draining to the back of the cavity, and there's lots of blood. And so it's all the indications that it was not somehow I missed the lung. I don't know. I've read all this stuff that when they breathe, when they exhale, the lung target area is not as big as when they're inhaled and they have their lungs full. And you could have just, I don't know. I've relived it so many times. And the number of bears, I bumped so many black bears when I was down there.
Really.
uh, Insane number of black bears. And I thought one of these black bears is going to lead me to this bull.
Yep.
Never did. So that tag turns into a cow tag like most of Wyoming's type 1 tags do. Right now, I could go down there cow elk hunting. But if I went down there cow elk hunting, it'd be to look for this bull again because I am convinced he's there. And I'm going back down there spring bear hunting this spring. And I'm gonna look for him some more. I am, but if he's on his feet off and on for a day, an elk can walk four or
Oh
five
yeah.
miles an hour. If he walked for 3 hours, he could be 10 or 15 miles away.
Yep.
So I have a friend who lives down there, and he's been looking in glass and trying to see if he sees anything of it. He's put word out to us because there's some private land nearby. Maybe he made it over to some private, and so he's asked some of those private landowners to keep an eye on it. But so yeah,
Yeah.
that's been a painful story to just think about. It's
Yeah. Well, and
caused me to really
I didn't mean
no.
to drag that up when I asked why you were unsuccessful this season, and but I
Yeah,
think there's value in sharing that and lessons to be learned for
yeah,
sure, not just for us, but for those listening. And elk are
yeah,
tough
and that's where
animals, and
yeah, and that's where the struggle of how to tell this story in
yeah,
video is coming from. Is I want people to realize that if you hit an elk in the cavity, it probably died. And my own personal ethos is I get one tag to draw blood, and when I'm done, I'm done. Or when I draw blood, I need to hunt that animal down and kill it, or I need to recover it because it's already dead. And I don't want that to sound like everybody has to have that same idea, because like I said, I understand I'm in a different situation than most people. So, but it just is so frustrating. When I release the arrow and I watch the arrow, you know, in your mind, it's almost like slow motion when you see the arc of the arrow. And I see the arc of the arrow going over his back, dropping into the body cavity. And I'm like, oh man, I, this guy is not going anywhere. What a big bull. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. I was so excited when I turned to Marcus to see him cussing at his camera. Uh, if you would have told me at that moment that I would not recover that bull, I would have bet you $10,000
Wow.
against that.
Yep.
And that's how confident I was. I mean, I was just smiling like, you would have swore that I just pulled off the miracle of life or something, and because I was that confident. And
Yep.
but you know how that is. You quickly know if it was the hit you thought it was. When he'd made it 300 yards and I wasn't seeing big blotches of blood, I was just seeing these, coffee cup size things. I'm like,
The roller coaster ride starts. You go
yep,
from that high right after the shot, and then you go in the reality of, oh, it's not going to be an easy track job. But then there's still hope in the back of your mind that, okay, he's just, hit him a little farther back or whatever. I'm still going to find him. And then you go and you lose blood, and then you find blood and you get excited again. And then
yep,
going back and seeing the golden eagle and walking up there, it's like, yes, all that relief. Finally, I put a closure to it. And you walk up there, and it's not your bowl. And I mean, it's a
yeah,
roller coaster ride that you can't explain to somebody until they experience it.
yeah. So if someone wanted to buy some really great archery equipment for $1, that would have been the trip that weekend. You could have cleaned my whole truck out of anything related to archery gear for $1.
Yeah.
I was just that down and depressed about it. And I guess the thing that uh, it just reiterates to me is how archery, as much fun as it is, the margins, because you don't have a quick follow-up shot.
Yeah.
The margins are so tight. And I have this archery range in my backyard. I mean, I am blessed where I can just walk out in the morning, shoot some arrows. Like I don't have any infringements on me practicing multiple times a day throughout the year. And I've been given the best equipment you could ask for. But yet somehow a 30-yard layup quartering away on a target as big of as an elk is, something went wrong.
Yep.
I'm sure it's operator error. I have no doubt that it was something of how I placed the shot, and I've repaced that. I have went and stood there and redid the the shot distance and shot angle. It's still 30 yards when I go back there. So, but you there, Corey, or did we lose you? It says you're still there, but your video is locked up. Oh, now it says you're done. Well, folks, it looks to me like Corey is lost. I'm uh, I'm gonna text him and see. Or the other thing I can do, folks, is I can wrap up this podcast for us. We've kept you for almost an hour. I want you to know that Corey's Destination Elk is going to launch in early January. I can't remember exactly what date, but it will do that. And that the Idaho draw results, when they come out, right? Last episode, we talked about the Idaho general tag draw for non residents. You'll have until January 20th to actually purchase your tag. Okay, they aren't going to mail you your tag. It's like with the controlled hunts, you have to go and purchase your tag. And if you're lucky, you have to do that on January 20th. So look at that. I don't have anything from Corey here. He must have completely lost it. Should I do? Corey takes my text messages and posts them on Instagram sometime. I'm gonna text him. You there, Corey? And I don't know. There he
Randy,
is.
man, I'm sorry.
What happened? What happened?
Well,
I
we
was
had that
just.
big storm come through, and our internet's been so wonky the last 3 or 4 days that
Hmm.
I just
Well,
connected to my phone.
oh, you want to know the good part? It didn't drop you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still running at 53 minutes here, so.
Yeah. So I just told the world, when's Destination Elk coming out? I told them in January, but I couldn't remember the date.
Yeah, January 21st is premiere episode, so
Okay.
we'll get to experience some of the roller coaster you talk about in that, and had some pretty awesome hunts though.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we'd written down for this episode is to make sure if someone does draw the non-resident general deer or elk tag that
In Idaho, oh, yeah.
in Idaho,
Yep.
that you have until January 20th to pick up your tag.
Yep. So
So,
that's really important because they'll let you know early January is when they're saying that they'll have the results for that. And if you do draw in the first round, you have to purchase your tag. So you go back into your online account and buy the tag, and then it's yours. If you don't
sure.
do that by January 20th, you forfeit the tag that you drew, and you're now ineligible to enter the second round that happens in, I think it's early February. So
Ooh.
any tag that wasn't drawn or that gets forfeited goes back into a second draw for non-residents only in February. I think it's the 5th through the 15th again of February. And then you have to pick up your tag by a date after that as well. So January 20th is an important date. If you applied for Idaho as a non-resident for deer or elk, make certain that you go in and buy that tag. So if you forget, there's no exceptions. Like there's no, oh, we're sorry you forgot. We'll give you a second chance here. It's going to somebody else, and you're excluded from getting to apply for the future rounds of the non-resident general deer and elk tag draw.
Hmm. So don't mess that up is the point, right?
That is the point.
Yeah. Hopefully people are paying attention to that. And let's see. Then we
Back
already
to
touched.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
Any fee increases this year? It seems like every year for the
No.
last 5 years they've increased the fees, and now they're up to
Oh,
mortgage your house to be able to apply. Is that still the
yeah.
case?
Well, it's kind of the case. If you go in the regular draw, it's $707. If you go into the special draw, it's $1,965. The youth in the regular draw, if a youth goes into the special draw, they have to pay that 1,900 and some dollars.
Whew.
But a youth applicant, non-resident, who goes into the regular draw, it's only $290. So, uh, yeah, but then on top of that, you have to pay for the application fee, and then you got to pay a credit card transaction fee. So if you want to go into the special, you're going to be coughing up, and you got to front all the money in Wyoming.
Yeah,
That's going to be over $2,000
for the special.
for the special.
And what is it for the regular total? Is that
I think by the time you pay, I think it's a $15 application fee. So 707 plus 15 is 722, and then there's like a $3 credit card fee, and then a transaction fee, and then a credit card fee. So you're probably looking at about $740 by the
yeah,
time it's all done. With the it's 2.5% is the credit card fee. So I don't know, 740 somewhere in there for the regular draw. And again, you got to front all that. So for people who might, well, you got two or three people in your household that's applying, all of a sudden you're going to cough real hard when you see that one.
yep. Yeah, and
So,
I was really on the ball with my kids when they were young because you can buy points in Arizona and in Wyoming for youth for dollars. I want
yeah.
to say like $10 or something in both states. I mean, it might be a little. I don't remember exactly, but I started when they were. I think you could start when they were 10 for both states. And so they've all got, 8 to 12 points in each of those states. Well, that's
Hmm.
all great. And it's, you're excited to do it every year until they turn 18. And then if dad's going to continue being a, a
A good
generous,
guy.
yeah, he's willing to foot the bill for that. They have to buy an adult license now in
Yeah.
Arizona, which is $165 or something
Yep.
each
Yeah.
times 3 kids. And in Wyoming, the points go up. So yeah, it gets more expensive. But with that being said, I have 3 kiddos now that have 8 to 12 points in Wyoming and Arizona. And
Mm.
now I've changed the game plan a little bit and said, well, when you do apply, we're applying as a party and we get to go hunt together. So they're not on board with that yet, and I told them I'm happy to go and just be a caller on that. But I get to
Yeah.
go and hunt with all of my kids again in Wyoming and Arizona, and it really, for those first 8 years of them being a youth, it's a incredible opportunity to invest in their
Yeah.
hunting future.
Yeah. Yeah. The Arizona deadline this year is February 3rd, and Wyoming is February 2nd. They're one day apart. So
Hmm,
don't don't wait until the last minute,
no,
folks. I even with the Idaho thing here a few weeks ago, there were people waiting until the last day, and so many people jumped on the system they had to put them all in that queue again, where
oh
the
my
little guys
goodness,
walking. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
yep,
We tell everyone, don't wait till the last minute, don't wait till the last minute, and it's almost like they wait till the last minute just because we told them not to.
yeah. If you're setting a reminder for the deadline, change it to the date that it opens. Set that
There you
reminder
go.
that, hey, it's open today, I have to apply, and apply
Yeah,
on the first date. And there's no superstition about if I wait till the last minute, my application's on top or anything like that. It's all completely
yeah,
randomized. So get it done
yeah.
early.
Or if you're like me, my credit card closes on February 10th or the 10th of each month. So I'm going to apply on the 11th and then I'll pay it off in February.
And you mean the 11th
Yeah.
of January, not the 11th of February for those
Oh,
two
exactly
states.
right. I'll apply on January 11th and I'll pay my credit card off when that statement closes in February. I'm just being the tightwad that I am. I don't know. Us accountants are trained in, never letting someone else have or borrow your money for free for any period of time.
Nope.
But so yeah, those are the ones that are coming up, and hopefully folks are paying attention. Um, if not, we're trying our best to remind them.
Yep.
But so, but anyhow, yeah, I'm glad you pried that out of me to tell
Yeah.
my
No,
Wyoming story.
those are tough to
I
tell.
people they've seen me moping around here. I'm still in disbelief. I'm still mad at myself. I I've been Da- David has prepared the episode, multiple days. They call it a day by day. And I'm just so, I don't want to say I'm past the distraught part of it. I'm just mad at myself that somehow the shot you would hope for, right? This big target, slightly quartering away or for probably 45 degrees at 30 yards. I would have thought I could have made that with my offhand.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Uh,
Well, and it's hard when
but
you create content because you know you're going to get backlash. There's just
all right, yeah,
armchair quarterbacks that are looking at it going, well, you shouldn't have done this or you should have
yep,
done that. And so then it's like, do
hmm,
we even share it? Do we even share the content? And I
yeah,
think that's, your example of that is helped me. We share everything, the good, the bad, the
yep,
ugly. We know we're going to get some people
hmm,
that make comments about it, but I
yeah,
think that the educational component of that is valuable enough. And it's not a matter of, oh, we just have to put out content. So we're going to, share poor
right,
content or poor results. No, it's the reality of hunting. And if we
yeah,
can help people learn from our mistakes or learn from situations where there maybe aren't mistakes, it's just the reality of hunting, then there's value in that. And it's
yeah,
hard to do. Every time we run into a situation like that, I always question, should we share this? And of course, we
Yeah.
always do, but there's a lot of people that don't. There are a lot of content creators that just move on to the next hunt, or they go and hunt the next day, and that memory card gets erased, and nobody knows the wiser. And so kudos to you
Yeah.
for A, sharing it, B, for putting in so much time and not hunting another elk. That shows a lot of ethics.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. You are so much more of an archer than I am. I've bought my first bow in 1995. So 30 years I've had a bow. I have had two bull elk I've hit that I've not recovered in my life, and both of them were with a bow. I've not yet, and I hope I never have that with a rifle. I have made some hits with a rifle with excitement, with rushing a shot or whatever, where I was really lucky I was able to make a follow-up shot real quickly,
Yeah.
or I would have been on another goose chase following something. So my point of that is this can happen with rifle just like it can happen with archery. But I I got a question, and I'm questioning myself even today. What is my effective shot range with a bow?
Yeah.
Because the other one that I didn't recover was at 28 yards, and this was 30 yards. It's
Yep.
like, Randy, by all practical standards, that's within normal archery range.
Yeah.
Uh, when you're talking about a bow with a camera guy with you, uh, you to get them much closer than that is very rare.
Yep.
So I'm having a lot of conundrum about, do I have the talent, the skill to be an archer? I and I know some people are going to be like, Randy, that just, sometimes that happens, and I get that, and I appreciate folks trying to comfort me, but uh, I just got to ask that question when I look at how many bulls I've killed with a rifle without losing one versus the fact that in my 30 years of owning a bow, I the two elk I've lost have both been with a bow, and
Yep. And I think
that
it's, we get asked a lot. I get a lot of emails and messages from people after season that lose an animal, and that's their question. How do I get back on the horse? Like, I
yeah,
want to give up. I want to quit. It's not
yeah,
fun. It's still 3 months later. There's a pit in my stomach, and there's a couple things. A, if you ever didn't feel that, you probably shouldn't be bow hunting, because
true,
that's a good sign. You have a conscience. You know that you respect the animal enough that if you don't recover it, you feel bad. And that's if you don't feel that, I would be more apt to say that person probably needs to give up bow hunting than the person who does have remorse over not finding it. The other thing is, there are bad shots. Sometimes we rush a shot, we take a shot we shouldn't. We take a shot out of our effective range because of desperation of filling a tag, and those are things that you've got to learn from. But I
right,
think in 30 years of bow hunting, to only lose two elk with a bow, that's a that's pretty good. I mean, that's
hmm,
good.
oh,
With that being said, I'm guessing that both times there were things that happened that
mhm,
prevented you from finding that elk that were out of your control. And you made a good shot, you took a good shot, it was in your effective range. I think I've learned I don't know if I would take a strong quartering away shot. If I can't
yeah,
look at it and see my arrow going into both lungs pretty solidly, I would probably pass it up. I would take a
I'm,
frontal shot over a quartering away shot, just because of the vitals and the way that arrow goes in and the
mhm,
chances of recovering it. And you have to remember, with a gun, it's impact. It is, that's what's killing that elk and knocking it down. With a bow, you're bleeding them out. And
right,
that shot does not get a lot of blood, and it doesn't allow for a lot of blood to get out on the ground so you can track it, which is what you need to do. And so,
yep,
there's some things there that I've learned to take different shots.
yeah,
Effective range is part of that equation as well. But I think, if anything, you're going to practice even more this next year, and you're going to focus even more. And I think
yeah.
that's part of learning and growing.
No, to your point, in my head, I am never taking a quartering away shot again.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't flub something on a perfect broadside shot, but I hit exactly where I thought I was aiming, or it seems that way.
Yep.
Maybe I hit a little low and didn't account for the fact that he's slightly downhill from me. Uh, if that would have been a broadside shot, I would have been aiming perfectly, and that arrow, even if it was slightly low or slightly high, that bull's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So in my head, yes, I'm getting rid of quartering away shots. And I know people listening are going to be like, "Well, Newberg, you're an idiot," and I get that. In my search for answers, I have a friend who has killed more elk with a bow than all he does is archery hunt. He doesn't. I mean, he owns rifles, but he doesn't rifle hunt. Even in this later time of the year, he strictly goes to deer hunting because he wants to archery hunt. So he gives up on elk after the rut, and then he goes strictly to deer hunting. And so I was asking him, and he told me that over he's hunted with a bow for a long, long time. He's lost very few animals. I said, do you think that the fact that Montana doesn't force you to choose your weapon results in people like me who, as much as we practice, we're not like you. I am not the level of archer that this guy is. And would there be a lower loss rate or wound rate, whatever you call it, if it was just the hardcore archers out in the hills? And so you had to choose your weapon. And he said, I don't know that that's really the answer. He said, I know some people who do both who are better archers than I am. I'm like, really? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I just do it because that's what I love to do. I just love this real intimate, like, get close sort of thing. So I explored that avenue mentally, and I'm still without answers. I don't know what the answer is other than try to do better, make
Yeah.
sure that that I do better. But
And I think
so like,
that's the lesson in all of it for all of us is whether we are celebrating a success or mourning a failure, we've got to put in work and we've got to get better. And that,
yeah,
there's no guarantee you kill 10 elk in a row and make 10 perfect shots. There's no guarantee that your 11th one is going to go off perfect.
right, yeah,
There's a lot of variables there. And that's not making an excuse. That's just the reality of it that there are
yeah,
things that just happen. And whether that's shot choice, whether that's shot distance, whether that's the elk moving, whether that's whatever it is, there's a lot there that can go wrong. And elk are tough animals. And I've seen, we give Donnie a hard time because Donnie doesn't always hold his composure together and make a great shot.
hmm,
But his elk always die quickly, even with questionable shots. And then sometimes others of us will make a really good shot that hits right where we think it should, and that elk turns out to be the hardest one to track. And so
yeah,
it's just not a cut and dry guarantee there. And so I think it is just a
uh,
matter of continually questioning, am I in my effective range? Is the bull at the angle it needs to be? And, I think as we get older and more experienced, it doesn't give us a green light to take more questionable shots. It hones us into where we're focused on more precise
yeah,
shots.
yeah. I mean, this the recreating the whole setup and walking back there multiple times while I was gridding. I walked through the shot. I can't even tell you how many times I re-walked through the shot and rearranged everything. And when I took those couple steps forward where he was slightly below me, it was a big flat spot. I mean, this is like you were standing at the line at your archery target. It's not like I was having to step around a tree or bend down or whatever. And when I cow called, he stopped. There was an opening 10 feet. There wasn't a tree 10 feet on either side of him. He stopped in the opening, you would hope, because if he would have went any other direction, he would have been obscured. gave one little cow call, and he just stopped and kind of looks back, looks slightly up. If you would have told me I would be presented that shot of all the possibilities that could have happened after he walked off, that's the shot I would have asked for.
Yep.
Unobstructed, flat ground.
Just doesn't get better.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So,
Well,
and it's not
I'm
my
glad we're having
equipment.
this conversation because we might have a follow-up conversation here in a few episodes once Destination Elk launches, uh,
Okay. So,
particularly episode 2, which will launch on January 25th, because there are things that when you don't execute the perfect shot, and then there are things outside of your control that happen, it makes the situation even more difficult. And
mhm.
we'll get to share that experience here shortly.
All right. Well, I, sorry, Corey.
No, that's
I feel like I've let hunting down,
no,
but we're going to show it for multiple reasons. One, like you said, if it goes snare wire, we're going to show it. And I mean, if it was something where it was so grotesque and so bad
yeah,
for the image of hunting, well, then maybe I wouldn't show it. Uh, but the other part of this is it's causing me to rethink a lot of things. Uh, and hopefully those who watch it will think about maybe they had a similar encounter and maybe they recovered it.
yeah,
Or maybe they had some shot where they're just absolutely sure that, how did that thing not die? And they're having the same experience I'm having. And I,
yeah.
I don't know. It is part of the hunting experience. And uh, I hope that people appreciate how many miles and how many days I spent looking for it because that's how convinced I am. Like I remember calling my son Matthew when I had 1 day left of that rifle trip. I went down there, and I'm just like, am I nuts? Am I stupid? Why am I passing up all these big 6 point bulls walking around here that I don't have any elk meat in the freezer. I this all these boxes, and he said something that it kind of woke me up. He's like, the reason you're doing it is because you're convinced you killed him.
No,
You're right. I'm convinced that bull is dead. I don't know. I'm hoping somebody finds him, or maybe someone else was hunting there and stumbled across him and they took him home. I don't know, or I,
yeah,
a multitude of things could happen. But I know this. The amount of coverage that was given to those, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 square miles of this big block. I was right in the middle of a big block of public. It wasn't like I was right on a property boundary or
yeah,
anything. Uh, it just there's not a parcel that doesn't have my footprints or Marcus's footprints. But my feeling is, if I were to find him in bear season or whatever, I'm gonna look at my tracks and I'm gonna say I was 15 yards from that thing. How
yeah,
did I not see it?
yeah. Or
So
like you said, he gets bumped by a coyote or a bear or something when he's still alive and still has enough energy to get on his feet. And once they get on their feet, 3 or 4 miles is nothing for them.
right,
And
yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's you think it's a long ways, and it is a long ways. But when an elk is realizing I don't feel good and I'm in danger, I just need to get out of here, they'll cover
yeah,
that ground. And
yeah,
if there's
yeah,
private 3 miles away, maybe he ended up there. He
yeah,
he's going to be 15 yards from one of your tracks, or he's going to be in an area that you couldn't get to probably.
yeah. I mean, he went downhill just like a hit bull would. He headed towards water just like a hit bull was. He bedded where water wasn't far by. I suspect he got up that night out of his bed and went and watered and then maybe went some other direction.
Yeah.
So enough of
Well,
that.
yeah. But
So, you know, now no one's going to watch a video. They're going to be like, I know how this ends.
yeah,
uh,
I'm excited to see the video of the bull. It sounds like he was a nice one.
oh, yeah. Yeah. And when people see video of some of the other bulls, they're going to be like, Whew. But
Be like,
I mean that.
we need to find out what unit Randy applied in and drew that random
Uh,
tag. And
yeah.
is it
I mean
20% that Wyoming gives in the random pool? So
25.
25% of the tags. So
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
has the
So
same chance in that.
I mean these aren't like 370-inch bulls.
Yeah.
You know, people be like, if that's the biggest archery bull you've ever taken, Newberg, what kind of archer are you? But it would have been. So, oh well.
Yep.
Well, should we let them go, Corey?
Yeah.
We've navigated an internet disconnection. I think we've solved quite a few of the world's
Man,
problems.
three application deadlines coming up. Idaho, January 20th of picking up your tag if you did draw in the first round.
Yeah.
February 2nd for Wyoming is the deadline. February 3rd for Arizona is the deadline.
Yep.
A lot happening here coming up in the next month or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, there is. So stand by, folks. Don't let it slip past you, or you'll be standing there staring at the window while all your friends are out elk hunting next year.
Planning and preparation starts right now.
Yeah. All right, Corey, I'm gonna hit the stop button. You have a great day.
You too. Folks, thanks for listening.
Thanks for being here.